I'm the youngest member of the Philadelphia School Board, and I'm a preacher. So that's me. That's me in a nutshell. So I want everybody, I know y'all eating, but can y'all get up for 1 second? Everybody stand up. I hate this part too, but it's gonna be fun. So, this or that, right? Y'all ever play this or that? All right, so be careful when y'all walking, okay? Don't run over nobody, don't bump into nobody, okay? But this or that, waffles or French toast? Waffles or French toast? Dr. Driver makes these fake gourmet waffles. Waffles or French toast? I would be over here with the French toast side, because French toast is way better than waffles. Way better. Football or basketball? I'm sorry, football, basketball. The Sixers gonna win tonight? We closing it out? Y'all ready? Water ice or ice cream? Oh, y'all want gelatis? Gelatis in the middle. Gelatis in the middle. All right, I'm going to ask one more fun question, then we're going to do some mental health stuff. Jordans or Yeezys? Jordans, Yeezys. Jordans, Yeezys. Y'all in the middle, y'all, what y'all wear? Chucks? What y'all want in the middle? Chucks? What's in the middle? All right. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? I got my mic. All right. All right, so listen up real quick. I'm gonna get closer so y'all can hear me. Listen to this. Tell me if it's a myth or a fact. A myth or a fact. If I talk about mental health, it may cause me to have some symptoms of a mental illness. If I talk about mental health, it may cause me to have some symptoms. Myth or fact? Myth or fact? If we discuss things like, so say it this, if we discuss things like suicide, would it make me want to commit suicide or a complete suicide, or would it not? So myth or fact? If I talk about it, it's going to bring up the symptoms. It's going to bring it on. Myth or fact? That's a myth.
Hello.
All right, so if I talk about things... I'm going to hold it still. All right, so if I talk about... See, I'll hold it still. Okay. All right, we're going to do one more. So that is a myth, right? Talking about mental health, all it does is create more conversation, right? The more we talk about our mental health, the more normalized the more normalized it becomes, right? So we need to always talk about our mental health, okay? I got to stay in one spot. All right, so one more, okay? Y'all ready? If my friend is struggling with something, I should keep it a secret. If my friend tells me something, let's say this, if my friend tells me something serious about their mental health and asks me to keep it a secret, I should keep it a secret. Yes or no? Yes, I should keep it a secret. No, I should let someone know. This is no. Yes over here, no. Yes? No. I should keep it a secret. I should let someone know. Tell me why y'all would keep it a secret. Somebody yell out why y'all would keep it a secret over here. Y'all say yes. Why would you keep it a secret? Y'all say yes? Why would you keep it a secret? You don't know? Somebody over here, snitches. Somebody over here, tell me why you would not keep it a secret.
Because people are dying.
People are dying. What else? Something bad might happen to them, right? I have a really good friend. Her name is Trisha. Trisha always said this: I don't care about you being mad because you're not going to be mad forever. So if somebody tells you something pertaining to their safety, you got to speak up. You got to tell somebody. You got to let somebody know. Yes.
But would they ever trust you again?
One thing about being, maybe not. Let's talk about this. They might not trust you, but are they going to be alive? It pertaining to their safety. Okay, so y'all want to change your minds? Okay, you change your mind. Y'all can change your minds. Y'all can change your minds. All right, y'all can sit down. Y'all can sit down.
She didn't say it. She said it.
So y'all ready to jump into our folders? All right. So the first page, when you guys open up your folders, the first page is going to be a safety plan. Why do y'all think a safety plan is important? Keeps you safe? Okay. Keeps you safe, right else? Just in case something happens, you'll have a go-to, right? You'll have a guide. So in case something happens, you'll have a guide, right? So the first page is this. Okay. So before we start our safety plan, I want to go over something with y'all. We all have We all have emotions, right? We all have feelings. So whenever we are triggered by something, right? Because I know that's a word a lot of people like to use. We like to use the word trigger. Whenever we're triggered by something, we feel it somewhere in our bodies, right? So the first thing I want to do is I want you guys to sit and really think about when something is bothering you, whether you're angry, whether you're sad, whether you are afraid. I want you to sit and think about where you feel it at in your body, right? Where do you feel it at in your body? I want you to really think that, yes. Okay, so your head hurts, right? So when you get angry, your head hurts, right? When I get nervous, my hands sweat, right? When I get angry, I can feel like the steam coming off the top of my head. So where do you guys feel your emotions at inside your body when something is going on? And y'all can yell out for me. You start shaking? Where? Your whole body? What is that a warning? What is that telling you? You about to go off, so when you're getting angry, that's when you start to shake? Okay. Anybody else want to share? Your stomach. What happens to your stomach? Butterflies? Does that happen when you're nervous? Okay. Anybody else want to share? Go ahead.
When I'm angry, I feel like I'm fighting glass.
Oh. Okay. You be angry at yes. You get pain in the back of your neck when you're stressed, right? Anybody else? No. Did I see your hand over here? Your heart starts racing, right? Right? Your heart starts racing. So I want you guys to think about that, right? I want you to think about where you feel your feelings at and what does that tell you? Because those are our warning signs or our yellow lights. You know how when we're driving in a car and the light turns yellow, we're supposed to what? Slow down, right? But I know I'm from Philly, so we don't really slow down and we kind of speed up. But we're supposed to slow down, or it's a stop sign. We know stop signs tell us to stop. So when you start shaking, you know you're about to go off. That's your body telling you need. What's your name? Anijah. That's your body saying, Anijah, you gotta chill. You gotta chill, right? So our warning signs when your back starts hurting, that's you saying it's your body saying I need a break because I'm getting stressed, right? When you start feeling like you're gonna bite glass, that's when you gotta say, that's your body saying, hold up, wait a minute, right? So the first thing on our safety plan, the first question says this: what are the warning signs that you're beginning to struggle with a problem? So y'all can fill that out. What are the warning signs that you are, that your body experiences when you're beginning to struggle? And it says you can include your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors, but I also want to know where you feel it at in your body. So that's the first one. Where do you guys feel it at? What are the signs that you get that your body tells you something is going on? How often do we stop when we get those feelings? Somebody said never. So do we stop and think about why am I feeling this way? Do we process? No, y'all just keep going? All right, we're going to learn about how to process and stuff and how to pause. School? No, not yet. And so the second question says, use your coping skills. So what are some things we can do in those moments when we're feeling like our whole bodies are shaking or we're feeling these butterflies? What are some things we can do to help us? Sit down. What else? Read. Music. Go for a walk. Do I have any artists in here that like to draw? No? Oh, okay. Thank y'all for putting your hands up. So we can go for a walk, we can listen to music, we can draw. Does anybody journal? Journaling is a good coping skill. Somebody says sleep. Sometimes we just need a nap, right? Yes. Talk to somebody who you trust. Doing something you like. What do you like to do? Watching movies? All right. So y'all can fill that out. What are your coping skills? This is your safety plan. This is what you're going to do when you feel a type of way, right? When you're feeling unsafe and when you're feeling like something is going on within your body, these are the things you're going to do. So what are your coping skills? And then I want you guys to think about 3 people you can call. 3 people you can call. You said nobody? All right, well, those not your friends sitting next to you? They not your friends?
They are.
All right, you can't call them? Why not? Then they're not your friends.
They are.
All right, well, we got to figure it out. We're going to work on you. 3 people you can call, or as many people as you. If you can't think of 3, at least give me 2 people you can call. And so the last important thing on that page is this. At the bottom, y'all see where it says 988? Do y'all see that? At the bottom? Why your folder closed? 988 at the bottom of the page. The first page on your folder. It says 988. Y'all see that? That's the suicide prevention hotline. It's a 24/7 hotline. So y'all can call that any time that you guys are feeling unsafe or if you have any kind of thoughts that you want to have a conversation with somebody. So what's your name? Neasia? All right, so when you can't call your friends, you can call that number and talk to somebody, okay? All right, so you at least got one number you can call. So we're going to jump into what is mental health, right? What is mental health? What is mental health? What do you guys think mental health is? What do y'all think when y'all hear mental health? Your heart? Okay, good. What else? Mental health. How you feel? Anybody else? What do you, Your thoughts? How about your actions? Are your actions tied to your mental health? Yep. Anybody else? I can't hear you. What you saying? Depression? Okay. Feelings, period.
How your emotions present itself to
how your emotions present themselves to the world? All right, go ahead to the next slide for me. So mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, how we feel, and how we act. And it helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. So we're going to dive into all of that, but that is the definition of mental health. So when you think about mental health, it includes your emotions, your psychological, and your social well-being. What does it mean to have social well-being? What does that mean? Social well-being. When y'all think about the word social media, social, what are y'all thinking? The way you interact with people, right? Yeah. So that's just social well-being, okay? So the next page in your folder says protective factors. Protective factors. Don't flip it over, just go to the next page. Protective factors. Yeah, it looks like this. So when I think about protective factors, how many people have been bowling? How many people go bowling? Bowling. Has anybody ever been bowling? Okay, so when you go bowling and you're not good at it, what do we put up? We put up the bumpers, right? And what do the bumpers do? Huh? They guide you? All right, they guide you, and what else does the bumpers do? You don't know? It protects you from going down the gutter, right? So when we think about mental health, we think about protective factors when it comes to our mental health. Those are the things that help keep us in line, right? They keep us on track. So our protective factors, think about them as the bumpers at the bowling alley, okay? They keep us on track. So there are things that contribute to our positive mental health. And they allow us to be resilient, right, when we face challenges. So they allow you to be resilient when you start shaking, right? And when you face challenges in life, right, those protective factors allow you to be resilient. So let's talk about it. What are they? We can start with our social supports. How many people can talk to people about their problems? Raise your hands. How many people can talk to people about their problems? It depends. Okay. So is it weak, moderate, or strong? What would you say? Just throw it out. Throw it out. Are they weak? Your social support weak, moderate, weak, moderate, or strong? Weak, moderate, or strong? We just talked about what our coping skills could be, right? They could be going for a walk. They could be listening to music. So are your coping skills weak, moderate, or strong? Weak, moderate, or strong? I need the page. Your coping skills, are they weak, moderate, or strong? Who has strong coping skills? Okay, we're gonna work on it. Anybody have strong coping skills? Anybody would say their coping skills are strong? Like you gonna take a deep breath? You gonna go for a walk first? Your coping skills are strong? Okay.
Somebody in the back.
Yes. Go ahead, I see you. You have strong coping skills? Talk to me about it. Okay. Y'all need a folder? What about physical health? Let's talk about physical health. Do y'all exercise? Yes. Do y'all have healthy diets? Yes. Yes? Weak, moderate, or strong? Your physical health. physical health? Who would say they were strong? Okay, who said they were weak, had weak physical health? Exercise. All right, let's do one more of this page. Healthy thinking. Healthy thinking. How are our thoughts? We think negative. And let me say this: as black and brown people, we have the tendency to always think negative, right? It's called ants, automatic negative thinking. Anybody ever had ants in their house or somewhere? An ant, you ever had one ant, right? And so what happens when you come back? What happens when you come back? It's more ants, right? And that's how it is with our negative thoughts, right? We can think one negative thought, and then the next thing we know, we're thinking 1,000 negative thoughts, right? So, how is your thought process? Keep it still again. Okay. So, how are your thoughts? How are your thoughts when you think about healthy thinking? Because that is a protective factor. Do your thoughts tend to be negative, or do they tend to be on the positive side? So, would you say weak, moderate, or strong? It depends on the day? Tell me why. Give me some detail on it. Okay, but what makes it good or bad on a particular day? What you have going on? So your environment, or what's on your to-do list, or what you may be going through? That's a fair answer. So on the back of that page, I want y'all to flip that page over. On the back of that page, it says, which protective factor has been the most valuable to you during a difficult time? Have we all experienced difficult times? Right? So when you think about your protective factor, for me, I can say that my social support has been most valuable to me, right? Being able to talk, being able to go to therapy, being able to talk to people has been most valuable to me. So what has been the most valuable protective factor for you? Then after y'all answer that, I want you to jump down and say, what 2 protective factors do you want to work on? So I heard people say they weren't really good with the healthy part of it, right? So is that something you want to work on? Right? Is the social support something you want to work on? Figure out which 2 protective factors you would like to improve on. You guys get on that page, or you need more time? Right. Go to the next one. So let's talk about some common mental illnesses, right? Some common ones. So we have depression, we have anxiety, bipolar disorder, and adjustment disorder. When you guys think about the word depression, what comes to mind? Sadness, what else? Antisocial, so kind of withdrawn. What you saying? Lonely? Yep. Anybody else? Suicidal thoughts? What if depression looked normal? Is that possible? Okay. It's possible, right? So real quick, you guys have your next page should say, what is depression? The next page, don't flip it over, go to the next page. You guys ready? So some symptoms of depressive episode, right, are depressed mood, sleep difficulties, right? So either I'm sleeping a lot or I'm not sleeping at all, right? It can be a loss of interest or pleasure. So how many of y'all like to play basketball? Yes? Nobody else? Okay. So it could look like I don't have an interest in playing basketball anymore, or I don't have an interest in going to the mall with my friends, or even talking to people, right? I could just want to be by myself. I could want to be withdrawn. It can look like my concentration, so I can't concentrate anymore, right? My thoughts are all over the place and I can't concentrate anymore. It could also look like I'm feeling like I'm not good enough or I'm worthless, right? It can look like that. It could also look like I might be eating too much or not enough. How many people just, they eat when they get in the mood? Anybody? But when you're in a mood, do you eat? Right. All right, so what are some risk factors do y'all think for depression? Risk factors, like something that may make somebody or cause somebody to be depressed. Social media, death, bullying, family issue, a breakup, having a baby. You right? Anybody else? Insecurities, finances, definitely. Huh? I'm sorry. Bad grades. Anything else? Anything else? No family support. School in general. Okay. Those are all good ones. What do you think a person should do when they're feeling sad or feeling depressed? Go for a run. Talk to somebody, right? What else? Pray. Work out, journal. Take medication. Be around, change your environment up, get some good social people. So the thing is, when you think about how do we treat depression, right? All those things were good, but do you think we should go see somebody that can really help us deal with it? Right? So I always say therapy is dope, right? And not just because I'm a therapist. Like therapy's been dope before I even went to grad school and became a therapist, right? I was in therapy. So therapy, and what's so dope about therapy when we think about how do we treat and deal with depression is that there's this thing called CBT, right? I don't know why I lost my train of thought. Cognitive behavioral therapy, right? And that's one of the tools I use in therapy because it allows people to reframe their thoughts, right? So yes, you might be having a bad day in school, but does that mean school is terrible altogether? No. One bad day? No. But that's why therapy is important, right? Because using CBT or cognitive behavior therapy, y'all listening? I'm able to reframe the way you think about things and the way you see things, right? And if I can change the way you think about it, I can change the way you act about it, right? I can change what you do and how you see things, right? So that's important so that when we're going through depression, it's important that we go see somebody that can help us, right? That makes sense? That can help reframe our thoughts and get us to see our reality from a different point of view. That makes sense? When you reframe a picture, you put the picture in a different frame, right? The picture looks different. That's the same way it is with therapy. So when I reframe your thoughts and help you reframe your thoughts, your reality looks a little bit different. Does that make sense? So we can pull you up out of that depressive state because I reframed your thoughts for you. Got it? So that's why therapy is important when it comes to depression. But also medication, right? Dr. Driver yelled out medication. Why do y'all think medication may be important when we're dealing with depression?
I don't think medication is good. Medication not good for you.
Okay. But what if I legit have a chemical imbalance that's causing me to be depressed? What if it's not environmental? What if it's not situational? What if it's really a chemical imbalance that I have?
Medication got bad side effects.
Okay. Everything got side effect. So, but medication is important because it helps stabilize our moods at times, right? So if I can't literally control my mood and nothing helps, sometimes medication is necessary. That makes sense? We're not saying in all cases, but I'm saying that in some cases it is necessary. One thing I want to say too before we stop talking about depression, because I'm just giving brief overviews of these, but is that over 50% of people who have depression also have anxiety, right? So when we think about being sad and then having anxious thoughts on top of that, that's a kind of complex layered situation, right? So over 50% of people that have depression also suffer from anxiety. All right? Go to the next. What's the next one? So now since we touched on anxiety when we talked about depression and anxiety, let's talk about anxiety. How many people in here have anxiety or think they have anxiety? I have anxiety, right? I have anxiety. The other day, Dr. Driver texted me something, and she texted me 15 questions back to back, and I'm like, hold up. That's not working for me, right? We got to sit and talk about it because me seeing those questions gave me anxiety, right? It triggered my anxiety. That's not the way I function. I can't function like that, right? So we had to get on the phone and we had to talk, right? Because my anxiety started, my heart started racing. I'm like, hold up, it started looking blurry to me, right? Because it was too much stuff at one time. So anxiety is very common. Let's talk about some symptoms. What are some symptoms of anxiety? Huh? Paranoid? Rapid heartbeat? You can't focus? We're going to talk about panic attack in a minute. We just on anxiety right now. Overthinking? What about uncontrollable negative thoughts? Right? Because sometimes I can be up just thinking like about the craziest stuff that's not reality, right? So sometimes we have uncontrollable negative thoughts. What else? What else does anxiety look like? Sleepless nights. What else? Racing thoughts. What about if we avoid fear? Anybody just been so scared that they just don't do something? Like you're afraid to jump. You want to jump, but you just can't because you're afraid to. That's anxiety too, right? So we got to be mindful about our anxious thoughts. We have to be mindful about the things we think about, right? So there's different types of anxiety, right? We have generalized anxiety, right? And that's just saying like, I'm just anxious. That's an excessive amount of worry in different areas of your life, right? So it can be, I'm worried about life. I'm worried about my job. I'm worried about my children. I'm worried about my family. It could be worry in different areas of our lives, right? Then we have phobias. Anybody have any phobias? What's your phobia? Who said cats? What's your phobia? Well, give me one. Heights? I'm afraid of heights too. Snakes? Cats? Y'all, I got a cat. That's my son. His name is Baby. Don't do that, y'all. Good. Owls? Okay. Anybody else have any phobias? Mice? Elevators? Darkness? What you said something? Anybody over here got any phobias? No? Cats? Okay. Y'all don't like cats. Nobody don't like dogs? All right, and then the last one is, so we have generalized anxiety, we have phobias, then we have panic, right? And that's extreme anxiousness, right? So somebody said that a panic attack, right? So panic when it comes to anxiety is extreme, anxious response where a person experiences a panic attack, right? So how does anxiety work? Or how does it grow? How do y'all think anxiety grows? You don't know? Give me some. Where do y'all think it starts at? With our mind, right? With our thoughts, right? And then how do you think it grows? You keep thinking about it? What else? Not only do I think about it, but then what if I avoid the thing I'm thinking about? Will it grow? Right? If I don't face it or attack it, will it grow? Right, so that's how anxiety works. It starts in our brains and then it just grows because we either avoid it, so now we're getting afraid to do the things, or we just sit and just let it grow and grow and grow, right? We don't try to tackle our negative thoughts. So sometimes, like, when I tell my clients, when y'all get the first negative thought, you gotta nip it in the bud. Because if I sit there and allow it to grow and grow and grow, it's gonna be out of control for me. And the next thing you know, I might be having a panic attack. Because I sat there and let the negative thoughts grow and get out of control. I was doing good. I was doing good. How do we treat anxiety? How do we treat depression? How do we treat depression? What do we do for depression? Therapy, right? What do we do in therapy specifically? Talk, but I use the word. I use 3 letters. CBT, right? Again, how do we reframe our negative thoughts? Reframe our negative thoughts through CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, right? The same way we treat depression can be also, anxiety can be treated with medication as well, right? Because sometimes we just cannot control our anxiousness, right? And we don't want to live in a state of panic all the time, so sometimes medication is needed to help bring us down to baseline. Make sense?
Yeah.
And then there's something, in addition to CBT, we also have something called exposure therapy. What do y'all think exposure therapy is? So what does that look like? What does mindfulness activity look like? So what does your Apple Watch like? That's a work routine. What does your Apple Watch like to do? So it tells us to sit back, relax, and do what? Breathe. So that's kind of what mindfulness is, right? But I take it a step further with my clients. I tell them to feel what they feel. So everybody feet on the floor. Everybody put your feet on the floor, flat on the floor. Put your hands on your legs. Let's take some deep breaths in. Where you go? I'm going to tell you what to do. 5 seconds. Hold for 5 seconds. You ready? 1, 2, 3. 5 seconds. And let it out. What do y'all feel on your back? What do you feel? Relief already? What do y'all feel? Be honest. What do you feel? Y'all feel the chairs on your back? Y'all feel the chairs on your back? No? You don't? All right, where are my feet on the floor? What do y'all feel when y'all feet? What do y'all feel right now? Your ground? What about the ground? Can you feel your toes? You know what y'all feel? All right. What about your legs? What do y'all feel on your legs? Your hands? What about your fingers? What are your fingers doing right now? Touching your legs? Right? So that's what mindfulness is, right? Getting you to focus on something. Thank you. All right, cool.
Hopefully that's the last guy.
So that's relaxation methods. All right, the next one. The next one, turn to the next page. It says, what is bipolar disorder? I wanted to touch on this because a lot of times we talk about the person is bipolar. When y'all say it, what do y'all mean? Different moods? Different moods, but it's like this. If I'm cool right now, then I got an attitude 2 seconds later, I'm bipolar? No. No. That's not it. But that's a big misconception that we always say. Like, we always say that the person is bipolar if their attitude shifts really quickly. But that's not true. So bipolar is this, right? I have 2 different moods. So either I'm depressed or I'm manic, right? So it's not like I'm nice and I'm mean. It's either I'm depressed or I'm manic. What do y'all think? You know what depression is, but what is manic? What does it mean if I'm manic? I'm real high, but what am I doing? I got a lot of energy. A lot of times when somebody's manic, they make a lot of irrational decisions, right? They're impulsive, they just want to do something, right? My friend was going through a manic situation, and he just like he's a pastor, but he started changing everything and didn't ask nobody nothing. Like, so that's what it looks like. Like, I'm making mad impulsive decisions and not actually processing, right? So that's what it can look like. So remember, it's not that I'm nice and I'm mean, or I'm nice and I got an attitude. Bipolar is 2 moods, either depressed or manic. Make sense? How do we treat it? You know, the same way. How do we treat it? Y'all can yell it out by this point. Therapy and what else? Medication. All right. So let's go flip that over real quick. What are some causes of bipolar disorder? Chemical imbalance, right? So that's just how we're made up. What else? Can it run in a family? So my genetics, right, can be a cause of. So we got the chemical imbalance, then we got the genetics. What about how I live and who I'm around, or what I have to experience? What about my environment? Could that be something that can cause bipolar disorder? Definitely, right? And we went over risk factors, we went over protective factors, right? So a risk factor is, for bipolar disorder, is anything that increases the likelihood of developing or worsening the bipolar disorder, right? So it can be failing to take my medication, it can be poor coping skills, frequent stress, a lack of social support, right? But something that can help me with my bipolar would be what? The opposite of that, right? So it can be if I make sure that I take my medication. It can make sure that I have a healthy lifestyle. It can make sure that I have social supports, right? So some things we can't help, right? If it's genetics, if it's our biology, we can't help that, but we can also try to change our environment as well, right? Make sense? All right, let's get into the meat of the discussion. I want to talk about suicide. So my nonprofit, there to hold strives to conquer suicide and youth and young adults, right? I started Dare to Hope because my friend died by suicide at 25. When we were 25 years old, he died by suicide. So it kind of changed the trajectory of my whole life, right? I was going to school to make films. I wasn't even like trying to do all this. I wasn't trying to be a therapist. I wasn't trying to be talking, doing workshops like this. I wasn't trying to do none of that. I was on my way to make movies. But when my friend passed away, it caused me to want to educate people on mental health, and not just people with Black and brown people, because we had no idea, right? We didn't know what to look for. And looking back, all the warning signs were there, but we didn't know what to look for, right? Because we didn't know. So my goal or my life's journey now has been to educate as many people as I can on mental wellness and what that looks like, right? How do we live mentally well as Black and brown people? So go back one spot. No. You're not going back, you're going forward. Go, no. You're going forward. Now you're going back. Thank you. What to look for? Alright. Sorry about the mic, y'all. On your last page of your folder, there says warning signs for suicide, right? We know one of the leading causes of suicide is depression, right? Untreated depression. Because at the end of the day, there's no cure for any mental illness, but they are treatable, right? So we know that a lot of times a mental illness such as depression, such as anxiety, such as bipolar disorder can lead to suicide, so we understand that first, right? But some warning signs that we have, right, about suicide are these. If somebody around you is talking about being a burden or like being a nuisance or, not being useful or people don't need them around, that's a warning sign. And what I want to say is this: when people talk, we have to listen, right? We have to be in tune. We can't ignore or brush off what they're saying, because a lot of times they're crying out for help, but we miss it because we're so caught up in our own lives, right? That we miss the details of what they're talking about. So if they're talking about being a burden, if all of a sudden they want to be isolated, so all your friends were hanging out with you heavy, and all of a sudden they don't want to hang out no more, that's a warning sign. You need to check in. How many people check in with their friends? Like, how are you? That's good. I'm glad. You sure? I'm glad to see that, right? I'm glad to see that people check in, because a lot of times I have to just hit my friends up and just be like, hey, y'all okay? What's going on in your lives? Right? Because we can get so caught up in what we're doing and what our lives look like that we miss checking in on our friends and our loved ones. So we got to make sure we check in. And we got to make sure that we pay attention to change behaviors, right? Because if my friend was hanging with me heavy and all of a sudden they don't want to, I need to check in. Make sense? Increased anxiety is a warning sign for suicide. So if anybody around you is just constantly talking about their worries or their fears, you need to check in, right? You need to check in. You need to help them process what they're dealing with, right? If people are talking about being trapped or feeling like in unbearable pain. So the other day, I was on Facebook, and I don't know this person on Facebook. You know how you just be friends with people on Facebook, but you don't really know him. He put up, like, I can't take this pain anymore. He was in a car accident. And he said, I can't take this pain anymore. I just took like 16 pills. So I immediately reached out to him, like, yo, like, we could talk. Like, I understand that you're feeling this pain, but you don't have to take your life, right? And so not only do we have to listen and pay attention to what people say, but then we also have to nurture them at times, right? And let them know, I understand what you feel, or I'm here to listen to what you feel. Make them feel heard and feel seen, because a lot of times that's all people want. They want somebody to listen to them. They want somebody to see them. They want somebody to know that this is what I'm going through, this is what I'm dealing with, right? They want to be heard, and they want to be seen. So we have to make sure that we're doing those things. Another warning sign can be increased use of drugs and alcohol, right? If somebody is overdoing it, we need to check in. A lot of times we think it's okay, like, oh, we just having a good time. But no, a good time can lead to death. So we need to make sure that we're checking in with our folks. Also, looking for ways to access lethal means. So what is lethal means? What does that mean? What does a lethal mean? Gun, what else? Knife, pills, razor, drugs. Anybody else? So if somebody is looking for access to those, you need to be paying attention, right? We need to really be paying attention to that. Extreme mood swings, expressing hopelessness. If somebody around us is sleeping too much or not sleeping at all, we need to check in with that. especially this, y'all, because, we're in a social media generation, we have to be mindful of what people post on social media, right? And when you see something, you gotta say something, right? It's not time to be like, oh, I'm just mind my business, because that could be the difference of somebody taking their life and still being alive, right? I had another friend, this is a really good friend of mine, he posted that he was gonna die. I didn't even check, I stopped what I was doing, I called his phone, right? Because we have to take it dead serious, right? And I know a lot of times people say, well, they just attention seeking, they always post like that. I don't care if a person posts 99 times, that 100 times will be the time they take their life, right? So we need to be serious and intentional about the way we communicate with people on social media. If y'all see something, say something. Can I ask y'all this? What are some fears around speaking up and saying something? What are some fears y'all have? You might not be heard, so you might reach out and they don't hear you or listen to you. Okay.
Or they might think we're all in their business.
Okay.
Trust us.
Mm-hmm. It can ruin your relationship. I hear y'all saying all day, but my friend is not here no more, right? So he can be mad at me, he can not talk to me no more, but I already him still be alive to live and see that it was something past the way he was feeling in the moment. Because however he was feeling in the moment, there was still a life to live after that, right? And if we could have pulled him out past that moment and he could still be here today, I'm sure he wouldn't feel like he can't trust us or he doesn't like us, right? He would still be here to live. So I think sometimes we just have to be able to pull people past that moment of hopelessness to get them to understand there's still a life to live, right? So while I value and understand everybody's what they just said, we got to kind of push past that, right? Because their lives matter. And if their lives matter to us and we love and care about them, we got to push past what their reaction might be. That makes sense? Yes.
So you talk to warning signs. So I'm close to 60 years old and I lost a friend when I was in my 20s. It still bothers me that I had no idea that he was struggling until it was too late. That was my first young person funeral. And I didn't see anything. And he was always there. He was always doing something. I feel like I missed it. So how is there a way to address that? Obviously, we don't see something.
Right. And so that was the same thing with us, right? We didn't know, so we didn't know what to look for. But that's why education is so important, right? So now that you know the warning signs, now that you know the risk factors, you can go and educate other people, right? It's our job to spread this message. So I'm sure that there was something that you made, and I'm not going to say this, right? I'm sure that it was just something that was said, something that was done. Because even it might look like this, right? It might look like giving away your items, right? It may look like, oh, I don't need this or I don't need that. How many people in here watch the show 911? Yeah. So y'all watch it. So what's going on right now with the captain? The previous captain. I ain't trying to give it away, but he's starting to give away his stuff. Which says in my mind something's going to happen this week, right? On the show, because he's giving away prized possessions. He's giving away this stuff, right? That's a warning sign, right? That's something we need to pay attention to. When you take off the earrings and be like, it's not just, oh, here, go here, but it's like, oh, I'm giving away all my stuff. That's something we got to pay attention to, because that's saying I'm not going to need it anymore. You know what else is a warning sign? When somebody's super depressed and all of a sudden they're happy. Right? That's something we need to look out for, like, because they may have made their mind up that they're going to take their life, right? And they may be at peace with it, so we need to make sure we're paying attention to that. Make sense? So I hear what you're saying, and I know what you're saying because I experienced the same thing. But now that I'm educated on it, I know that, hey, I did miss that, right? I missed the family history of schizophrenia, right? We missed it, right? So we didn't see it. So it's things that we just don't see because we don't know.
And I think one of the things
I got you, so I see
was
you.
upset about is that other people knew he had issues, and I didn't. And nobody ever said anything. So I was like, we could have, had somebody could have had eyes on him.
Right. But you know what I did too? Like, instead of like sitting in guilt for not recognizing or feeling like, why didn't you reach out? I started my nonprofit, right? Right, so we gotta take those feelings and push it into something positive, or we're gonna sit and feel guilty years later, right? What did I miss? What didn't I say? You gotta do something with that guilt, right? You gotta take it and transform it into something. Even if you just share this information from today, right? Take it and do something with it. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that some people are sitting on the edge and don't even know this. So you got all these warning signs, and you're like, oh, maybe I am isolated and feeling anxiety. Maybe I'm closer to, person that's going through something, knowing, hey, this is what it looks like, you know, and maybe I need to go get some help.
Right, and for me, I think that, especially for black and brown people, because of our ancestors, right, we just have that fortitude to keep going. And we think we're robots, and I tell people all the time, you're not pretending. This is not the Wiz, this is not the Wizard of Oz, like, we have feelings. And I think what we have to start doing is stop it and processing what we go through and what we feel. So even today, when you shared about your friend, process those thoughts of guilt, process those thoughts of what I missed, right? I think too often we just try to keep going and don't stop and be like, what am I feeling and why am I feeling this way? So we gotta process, right? Because you might be sitting on the edge and not know it because you haven't stopped the process, right? But then all of a sudden you snap or you break because you didn't even know all this stuff was going on inside of you, right? Dismiss it, huh? I didn't, yeah.
I'm just saying dismissing.
Yep, dismissing the thoughts, dismissing the feelings, dismissing all of that.
So if I have a friend who's suicidal and I see the symptoms, is there something I'm supposed to say or ask or do or?
Yeah, I'm getting to that. We running out of time. All right. So can I just get her question first? Okay.
As a culture, how come we always are afraid of therapy or counseling? You know, a lot of times, and we don't want to bring it up or we don't want to bring it up. Or it's like, or a situation where, you know, it stays in my house, instead of us seeking to help them.
Right. So I think that for these students that are sitting here, I think it's different now for them, right? They don't mind talking about their mental health and going to therapy. But for the older generation, it's an issue, right? Because it's been what was been taught to us. Like, we keep what's going on in this house, and ain't nobody's business, or it's a sign of weakness, right? If I go get help, then I'm weak, right? And then we gotta think about the religious part of it. We go to God, right? Or we pray about it, right? So we gotta think about all those things that have been later that have made our minds up about therapy and seeking help, right? It's nobody else's business but mine. I can get through it on my own. I don't want to seem weak, and if I go to a therapist, then I'm fronting on God, you know. So all those things, right? But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, just real quick, what do you do if you have a friend or you know there's somebody who they're completely shut off, they're completely gone dark, you send them messages, you try to call, reach out to them, but they're not responsive. And sometimes you may think, oh, they're just going through a moment, they'll come out in a couple days. But what do you do? What do you suggest?
I show up. I'm knocking on doors because I know how serious it is, right? So I think that we can't be afraid to go the extra mile. And we're going to jump into that right now. What to do if I see a friend that's experiencing these symptoms, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I'm checking in, right? I'm going to make sure I'm in a safe space. And we can all be that safe space, the people we care about. We got to make sure we're their safe space, right? So they got to know they can come to us and talk to us. They got to know they can come to us and ask us questions or be honest and be real with us, right? If your friend is going dark and you knock on that door, they going to know you love them and care about them, right? So it's like we got to show up and then we got to listen. We got to create those safe spaces, right? And for, my students is this, y'all can't be afraid to go get in the dub, right? Because there's some situations and some circumstances y'all can't handle on your own. So you got to be able to say, all right, with this information, I had to get in the dub. I remember being in first grade, and this is crazy how life works. One of my friends called me one night, and she just was like, I want to kill myself. We like in first or second grade. I stayed on the phone with her for a while, and then I told my parents, right? I told my parents because I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was kind of scary. So I told them, and she sought help. They got her, the counselor at school helped her, her parents got involved, and she got the help that she needed, right? So it's important that when people give y'all information, y'all have to seek it out, right? Y'all have to seek and trust it out. Another thing you can do is give resources, right? So 988 is a resource that we can use as far as getting help 24 hours a day. There's crisis centers in Philly. Google Works, right? Google Works. There's crisis centers all over there 24 hours a day. So if your friend is struggling, you can get all the information you need and then take it to the adult or take it to the friend like, hey, this is what you need to do next, right? So there's crisis centers. Then we have the Department of Behavioral Health, who has resources. This website right here, I love this website, healthymindsphilly.com, because it helps you, it gives you a checkup from the neck up. A checkup from the neck up, right? So you know how we go to the doctors and we get checkups for our bodies? This website gives us a checkup for our mental health. Does that make sense? Gives us a checkup for our mental health. And then we can always, talk to our primary care doctors, and therapy is dope, right? Therapy is dope. But one thing I want y'all to realize too is that when somebody is expressing suicidal thoughts to you, do not ignore them, right? Let them get it all out. Don't ignore them, but then you need to make sure you take it to a trusted adult. Does that make sense? And for my adults in here, you know, we can't force people to do anything, right? But we can give the resources, and then we can be a listening ear. We can talk to them, right? But for my students, I want y'all to understand, don't sit on that type of information. Don't sit on it. Make sure you're reaching out to somebody that can help you take it a step further, okay? Because we can't really get a car and force our friends anywhere, but we have adults in our lives that can help, right? So make sure you, is everybody here a trusted adult they can go to? Yeah, put your hands up high so I can see. Y'all don't feel like y'all doing the day? Okay, so we need to get y'all some mentors, right? And I honor what you said, right? Because I talk to God, but that's what I go to every 2 weeks. My therapist, right? So I honor your strength and I honor your resilience, but sometimes things get too heavy and we gotta be able to unpack it with somebody else. Does that make sense? So don't be afraid. Don't feel like because you unpack it with somebody else that you're not the strong individual that you are, okay? So make sure you consider that too, all right? All right. We got time for this? So one thing I want to do is talk about too is normalizing it. So how do we normalize talking about mental health? How do we normalize it? Talk about it more. What else? How about the language you use? If somebody goes to therapy, what are y'all saying they are? Crazy, right? We can't talk like that anymore because I go to therapy, I'm not crazy, right? A lot of my clients that I see are not crazy. None of my clients are crazy, right? So we have to understand and honor the way we talk about things, right? We got to figure out a better way to talk about what we're going through. So a person isn't crazy, they might just have a mental illness, right? And the way I like to spin it is that it's mental wellness. I want my clients to be mentally well, right? Go from the illness to the wellness, right? Because we can get there because we can treat it, right? It's not curable, but it's treatable. So how do we get them from mental illness to mental wellness? And living mentally well, whether it looks like managing medication, whether it looks like, making sure that you're at your therapy appointments, how do we get to mental wellness? That makes sense? So we normalize it by watching our language, we normalize it by talking about it and making it common, right? Because my friends know, where you going? I'm going to therapy, right? Just the way your friends know that everything else is normal, what y'all watch on TV, what y'all watch on social media, TikTok and all those things are normal, that's the same way it has to be with our mental health. That makes sense? Next slide. So this is where to find me at if y'all want to find me. But I got did we miss this? You go back. I think we missed a couple times. Right? No, we don't got time for that. No, you're going to the suicide from Fast Fix. Right here. So I just want y'all to make sure y'all got this phone number down, the 988 Suicide Crisis Lifeline. And just understand these numbers. Over 48,000 people died by suicide in 2021. There was one death every 11 minutes, right? And so 12.3 million people seriously thought about suicide that year. 3.5 million people made a plan, and 1.7 attempted suicide. So it's real normal and real common, right? But we gotta talk about it more, right? We gotta normalize the conversation because clearly a lot of us are being affected by this, right? A lot of us in here can say we have depression. A lot of us in here can say we have anxiety. So we need to normalize these conversations. Make sense? All right. Does anybody have any questions for me? No questions? Comments? Concerns? Oh, okay. Thank you. Go ahead. How old am I? I'm 36. So wait, I didn't get to talk about this, but if y'all look, this page is really important because it talks about individual risk factors, relational risk factors, and community risk factors. I want you guys to make sure you pay attention to that page, okay? So it's on the back of the warning signs, right? It's the risk factors on the back of the warning signs. So make sure that's a really important page.
I just wanted to thank all of you for participating in the workshop. I know talking about mental health is hard, but it's such a necessary topic. It's a topic that we need to know what to do for ourselves, and it's a topic that we need to know what to do for the people around us, because I'm sure it's safe to say that one of us, if not all of us, knows someone who suffers with a mental health disorder. We know someone who's struggling, we know someone who needs help, but may not know what to do. So I hope that you can take this folder, this information, the protective factors, the coping skills, and all that good stuff home with you. And maybe you don't need it now, but you never know when you're going to need it in the future. And so thank you all for coming out. Thank you, Sarah Ashley from Dare to Hope. And you have a great